All right. So I want to talk a little bit about the actual training itself, so we can get smarter on what it all looks like. You know, so Ian, I'm going to make this real, kind of take it to the basics, right? What does a typical training day look like in one of your project management professional certification courses?
So this video will hopefully outlast the current COVID conditions, right? But right now, everything that we're doing is virtual. But we've done a really, I think, you know, and you can be the judge, but I think we've done a really good job of taking the in-person classroom experience and replicating it as best as possible in the virtual classroom. So we use Zoom software, and the Zoom meeting software allows you to do a lot of different things. Number one, it allows everybody to see the screen of the instructor, which is exceptionally valuable. Move through the slides with the instructor, right? So we'll open up the classroom at 8 in the morning. The Zoom meeting is normally open a little before that, just like a regular classroom would be, right? Come as you can. And as soon as we start, essentially the instructor is center stage, showing slides, engaging in conversation as much as possible. That's another thing that we've kind of forced a lot of people, because they're right now, when we first transitioned to Zoom, nobody knew how to use Zoom, right? And everybody was kind of like, oh, how do I turn my camera on? How do I mute myself? Oh, I'll help you right now and mute you, right? So it was different. And then we got used to using Zoom, and then we've kind of gotten complacent to using Zoom, and nobody wants to turn their video on, nobody wants to turn their audio on, nobody wants to talk, they'll randomly chat, which is great, right? But so for us, as the instructor is moving through the lesson material, we'll go for about 3.5 hours in the morning with periodic breaks to make sure that people can get up, move around, get the blood flowing again. But during that time, it's not just the instructor just throwing information at you. You can watch a video on YouTube and get that, right? What we do is we force collaboration. I mean, we ask people to turn their cameras on. And if they don't want to turn their cameras on, we find interesting and unique ways to continue to involve them anyway, right? Sometimes it's cold calling, where you'll be sitting there and as an instructor, be talking to the class and it's just deadpan silence. And you're like, oh, somebody's got to engage. I'm like, so-and-so, what do I mean by that? Do you have a story that could back it up and really force the engagement? And after, you know, the first 1 or 2 times, then it just really just kind of opens up, right? And we'll go through a lesson, and each lesson has examples from the instructor, collaboration from the students, a lot of back and forth as much as possible. And then right at the end of the lesson, before we go into a little module quiz, we'll do a breakout session, practical application. And this is where we kind of took the Zoom platform to the next level. Instead of keeping everybody in the same room, like say you got a class of 10, 15, 20 people, and it's kind of hard to collaborate in an environment like that because everybody's talking on top of each other. So we took the breakout rooms function of Zoom, and we'll drop them into smaller groups just like they would if we were in a classroom. And then the instructor kind of roves between the groups for the time, answers any questions, and keeps everybody kind of focused on the task at hand. And you bring everybody back. One person from each group will discuss kind of the findings or the overall results, and then we'll go into a quiz. And by doing that, we found that the level of understanding has really kind of increased to, for lack of a better way to put it, next level, because we talked to them about it, they talked back to us, and we related their experience to the lesson. And then we had them sit down with a group of people and collaborate with each other to think with each other, a very Socratic technique, right? And then we finalized that learning and said, here's your quiz. And then they take the quiz and we send them the results of the quiz. So it's not like you take the quiz and it goes away forever. We actually send the results of the quiz to them so that they know where their weaker areas are so they can continue to study. And we do that for a full 5 days. And that's kind of the typical day in the life of a student. I mean, it goes beyond the classroom, which I'm sure, you know, we'll talk about it here in a little while, but that's really the daily regime for the classroom.
Awesome. Tim, you have anything to add to that?
Well, I was just going to say, if I was the instructor and I was teaching, my classes are just a lot more fun than Ian's. So our day would be filled with, I throw some jokes in there every now and then and whatnot. But other than that, yeah, Ian's right on the mark.
Other than that.
Other than the fact that Tim is more fun. I get that.
Got it. What about you, Sanya? You're kind of like you got to see this all in action, right?
I did.
What was your take?
I loved it actually. And with the instructor, one of the things that he did at the beginning of each day, not necessarily the first day, but the second day, is that he gave them questions at the beginning of the day when their minds are still fresh. Hopefully they've woken up by that time. But it's similar, it's questions that you can expect in the exam from what they would have covered the day before. So he didn't wait until the end of the training, you know, sort of to cement all the information, because it's a lot of information to put in 5 days. And having him do those recap sessions in the morning, I found those were so helpful. I wish I could have answered some of them, but I was leaving it for the guys to do. But it was so helpful. And while he put up the questions and everybody went on the link, I saw that the information was populated on the screen. And then he went through it afterwards and he was like, well, I saw a lot of people got this one wrong. Why did you choose this answer instead of this one? And this is how they're going to bring questions. They're going to try and trick you, you know. You have to be thinking along this path. And I love the fact that he brought it back to the exam. He brought the exam into the classroom. And it wasn't just, I am telling you, this is the material, you need to figure it out. He brought everything together. And I love that part of it. So that was great for me.
Yeah, that's huge. That's great. You know, that's something I think is kind of unique to what you guys do. You really do keep this focused on the end goal of getting the student as successful for the exam as possible. You know, they kind of leave there with no stone unturned, and that's huge. And I think, you know, sometimes when students see the tremendous amount of value you guys can bring to the table in a class, and they see how much they really need to pour themselves into this, at first it might be like, oh man, you know, life's crazy. You know, am I able to do this? You know, very infrequently, but it did happen. You have a student that for some reason or another can't, you know, attend part of a day or misses a segment of the course. Ian, how do you guys usually balance that with the needs for exposure hours for the certification?
So, and it does happen, you know, especially now with, you know, everybody working remotely and people, for lack of a better way to put it, managers or senior leaders kind of assuming 24-hour availability of staff members because we're all working from home. And you're at home, that means you can work, right? So there's a lot of draws, right? And even in the actual, you know, when we were doing brick and mortar classes, even in those points, you have dental appointments, you've got to, you know, pick up sick kids and take them home. You got to do all kinds of different draws on your attention. And if a student misses a certain portion of the day, right? So if you come in 10, 15 minutes late, you just kind of, you know, get the finger wag and you move on, right? You're done scapping in the corner and feel bad about it. But if you miss like an actual day of training, you can miss up to a day of training and you still can stay the pace. But what we recommend, or actually what we require, is for you to go in and make up the modules you missed. So our schedule is published on the learning management system. This is where we intend to be every day. And if a student misses, you know, a key feature or a module, you miss a quiz, not as big of a deal, but if you miss a full module, you go back in and you watch the videos. And the beautiful part about it is, and this is something that we kind of accidentally figured out, is that Tim teaches the online videos, right? They're all recorded videos from classroom sessions, which is great because you get to hear Tim talk, Tim's examples, Tim's students ask questions, tie those things together, right? And obviously it's more fun than what you would do if you were in my class anyway. But so, you know, you get the whole, you know, experience. But if I'm teaching your class and then you have Tim's modules after the class or even available for the time period for studying, you get to hear two different instructors' perspectives on the same topic, which is invaluable. Because he's going to use different examples to tie things together. He's going to get different questions than you would have gotten in the classroom, and it's very, very, very valuable extra experience.
Yeah, and they have the option of doing that even if they don't miss class, right? They have access to the videos outside of class, right?
Yes, absolutely. So if a student signs on and enrolls in a course, they actually have access for 1 year from the enrollment date. So if they get, you know, 6 months down the road and go, oh yeah, that PMP thing, I totally forgot about it, and they want to come back in, they can go cradle to grave again with everything in the learning management system. All of the same very similar tools to the classroom experience are all right there in the learning management system.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean,
yeah, so can I just throw in there, in addition to the videos, that if a student misses class or just wants to hear the material again, they can reattend our training for free, because once you sign up with PM-ProLearn, you have a year access to reattend the training or use all the online content. So somebody, you know, fell asleep, zoned out during some of the class and all this virtual training, the kids are yelling in the background and you miss some important points from the instructor. You can reattend just that one day maybe that you missed, or the whole 5 days, free of charge for a full year, because our goal is for you to pass the exam. You know, once you become our student one time, we are partnering with you on that. So we want you to come back and see the material again if it's going to help you.
Wow, that's amazing, Sanya. I mean, that's a huge.
It is.
That's a huge value point, huh?
It is huge, and I think that's one of the things that I really like about PM-ProLearn, is that it's a team effort. It's everybody coming together just to make sure that we have that common goal of the student passing the exam. It doesn't just stop at the end of the 5 days, and that's one of the things that I love about the training sessions. It's just that a lot of people, a lot of other providers, they would say, okay, well, you have me for is it 35 hours? You have your 35 hours, that's it, the end, good luck in your exam. But what I've realized with the team at PM-ProLearn is that they help the students to sign up for the exam. They help them to get ready for the exam. They have that support for the entire year. And a lot can happen in a year, as we've seen this year. So just having that support base and just being there for your students, getting them to pass that PMP exam, that's one of the key factors that I love about PM-ProLearn.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it is huge value, right? And I mean, if you're an organization that's going to invest your valuable resources in getting people trained, why not do it with someone who matches your appreciation for those people and takes care of them like you'd want them to? You know, it's kind of like sending your kids off somewhere. Right? You want the other people that have your kids to treat them like they're their own, including beatings if necessary. Can't help it. I'm from a big Italian family. Everyone's got free reign over you. So Tim, you know, you guys have taken this whole perspective on taking total ownership over a student's experience, and you guys have rolled that outside of the classroom in more ways than just providing them access to virtual course material. You know, how do you help them with, you know, the daunting part of this that kind of seems to be outside of traditional curriculum, like applying for the exam and other elements? I mean, I wrote down scheduling and the exam. I mean, those were things that I did on my own without a training provider before I realized what options I had available to me. I always tell people, I wish I had the opportunity to have a class like you guys put on, because I had to go through all that myself and figure it out. It took a lot of time. It was a bit stressful. What do you guys do to help students with the application and scheduling of exams and things like that?
So, you know, that's a really cool question, Lucas, because so many people come to, you know, think about, man, I think I might want to go get that PMP, learn some project management stuff because I see how valuable it is, but I just don't think I can qualify. I don't know where to start. I don't know if I can get there. And we realize that, right? We know that is in people's minds, is sort of that uneasiness of if this is even something they can do. So our company, we deliberately take a mentorship model and a partnership model with every single student to shepherd them through this thing, from that initial feeling of I'm not sure I can do it, but I really want to, hey, wow, I'm a PMP. So we want to be with them from the beginning to the end and be that advocate and that mentor in the background that's always there. So we start that out at the beginning with this idea of, can I qualify for the PMP certification? And, you know, then how to do the application, because the application is really looked at as a very challenging and daunting thing by a lot of people. So when a student enrolls with us, the very first thing that happens is they get instantaneous access. As soon as they enroll online, they get access to our online content, and they're directed to what we call the Start Here module. And in the Start Here module, there's a video in there by Ian, by the way, about how to do your PMP application. And there's also a PowerPoint presentation in there. And there's a spreadsheet tool that we created that helps you calculate, do you have the experience or not? And so if before a student ever sets in foot in class, they've got access to all this Start Here module to start learning on their own about the PMP application. Once they start interacting with their individual instructor, they're able to start just asking questions directly to the instructor by email and say, hey, can you take a look at my draft application and give me feedback on it? And we'll do that. And then once they're in class, we actually spend a couple hours on the first day talking about the qualifications, how you do the application. We have a group exercise that students get together and they do a mock-up of a PMP application. And so, you know, they learn from each other about wait a minute, you're in IT and I'm in healthcare. What are you counting as a project? And what can I count as a project? So they learn from each other. And so throughout the week, the instructor is available to help that student review their application. Our instructors will help them during lunch or after hours and hang behind and review their application and kind of tweak it and get it online. After the class is over, the instructor, we ask the student, when you've got your final copy of your application ready, based on all that previous stuff that, you know, I just mentioned, when you get your final one ready, we've got a specific email address that you send it to. That's how we're doing it right now. So they send it to application review at PM-ProLearn.com. And we've got a staff member that takes that application and assigns it to a reviewer on our team, a PMP, who's going to look over that application, give direct feedback to the student of, hey, it's good, or you need to tweak this, you know, to get it dialed into a good looking application. And we'll go back and forth with the student as many times. We'll even do a Zoom meeting with the student if they need some, you know, a little bit more touch points on how to get their application dialed into where it needs to be. And then when we tell them, hey, we finally think you got this good, smooth copy, shoot it off, they'll submit it to PMI. So we try not to let students send their application to PMI until we have reviewed it and said, we think it's good. And so because that's our area of expertise, you know, if a student does that with us, they're going to get approved. I mean, I can't even remember the last time that we had an application not get approved because we just do it all the time, right? We're experts at that. So that's how we help them with the application. And then when they get ready to test, when they get approved, PM-ProLearn, part of your enrollment fees with PM-ProLearn, we actually include your exam fee in that. And so all you got to do is send us an email and say, hey, I just got approved by PMI, my application got approved. What do I do next? And one of our team members, Alicia, will grab that and say, here's what you do next. And she sends them a detailed email with all the instructions. It's got a voucher code in there that all they got to do is take this voucher code, follow the instructions, go to PMI's website and schedule their test there. So we take care of that for them. And once they get paid and they get scheduled, they go take the exam and notify us that they passed, and we all have a celebration with them about that. So it's really, we are always trying to improve how we help students there, but it's really designed as an end-to-end process from when we first make contact with you to when you are a PMP. We try to shepherd you through all that. So I say we're lowering hurdles and smoothing out speed bumps so you can have a smooth ride into your PMP certification.
Wow. That really reduces a lot of the student stress. You know, that's,
yeah, we definitely try to do that.
That's huge. Ian, I mean, how have you seen, you know, have you seen anything, you know, kind of unique about that process and the way you guys manage it?
I think one of the biggest things that you can pull out of that whole process, and as Tim says, it's a mentorship and partnership for a full year, right? And so I did a Zoom meeting with someone today as an example. She had just passed her test. She's in Italy, and she had attended remote virtual training where the instructor was in the US and she was in Italy, and we taught on Italian time zone. So instructor up way early in the morning, right? A couple of pots of coffee in him, and then he teaches the class, and he's teaching on an off-cycle class. And then she had attended a training, and it actually only took her a little bit over 30 days from conclusion of the course to take the exam. But when I talked to her today, we did a Zoom meeting, and she said so many wonderful things about her experience, the curriculum, the quizzes, everything. But she made mention multiple times to come back and say nice things about the instructor. Because not only did he do an amazing job in the classroom, he reached out to the entire class like 2 weeks after the course and said, hey, don't forget, blah, 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 right? And he made sure that he was there to try and assist and just say, hey, I'm still here. It's not a transactional thing. It's a relationship thing. What do you got for me? And that's, if you look at the testimonial comments that are on our wall that people talk about, we get we get called out by former students and PMP successes on LinkedIn all the time because they say, hey, really wanted to say thanks to PM-ProLearn. You don't normally see that, right? With a training provider, it's kind of like a very transactional thing. You come in, you sit down, you take the training, and then the trainer, goes off to the Hinterverse, never to be heard again. But we intentionally, and sometimes maybe a little overbearingly, inject ourselves into their study process to make sure that, number one, they don't forget about it. Number two, they know they're not alone. And by the end of it, they truly do. I mean, I've created, for lack of a better way to put it, really good acquaintances, almost friends, out of relationships with students that I've been their linchpin for success in their mind, because I've been able to coach them, shelter them, mentor them. We've had people that do kind of, for lack of a better way to put it, a good chuck on the shoulder and a win one for the Gipper pep talk right before people are walking into the exam. So there's a lot of value in a trainer that does not act like a trainer, that they act more like a coach and a mentor. And I think that's what we do. And we celebrate, like Tim said, we have an entire chat feed for our team that everybody knows how many successes we've had, who's success. We congratulate the student, we congratulate the instructor. It's a win for everybody, and that's not normal, right? And that's why we love it.
Yeah, crazy to me.
Make sure to check out eastpartnership.org for more.